All right, sorry running a little late, but we had some technical difficulty as usual, right? That's what happens with the Facebook Live. All right, this is an important topic of diet variation is what I call it, AKA feast-famine cycles. Now, those of you who struggle to get into ketosis, struggle to lose weight even when you're in ketosis or a low-carb diet, this is an answer for you. And by the way, many women out there are told you can't fast or do low-carb diets. This is an answer. People with thyroid and adrenals, I've been asked that question. Can you do fasting, daily intermittent fasting, and even low-carb diets? The answer is yes, but you need this strategy of diet variation. Otherwise, no doubt you will struggle. This is a strategy, look, when I went to Africa, I saw this firsthand. I saw them do this diet variation, and most ancient cultures are actually forced into varying their diet. Today, we're not. Matter of fact, most of us stay on the same diet always. New studies are showing that in fact is a big mistake, leading to many different diseases, even cancer. So that's called seasonal variation, where we literally are forced either from environmental stressors, pressures, lack of food, whatever it is, seasonal changes to force to change our diet. And studies are showing that's very important because of the adaptation that it causes in our microbiome with our hormones, and even where the sun is positioned literally can determine how we adjust to certain foods. It's hard to believe, but it's proof that we should in fact vary our diets. Now, I'm going to talk about seasonal variation, which probably not going to focus on that as much as monthly and weekly variation. That is a strategy to get our bodies to actually burn fat for energy. Okay, follow me, because this is the concept that you have to understand. When I was doing ketosis, I was in very deep ketosis at one point, and I started burning all types of fat, right? This is a while ago, but then something happened. I started to notice that I was gaining belly fat. So like most of you would do, right? You said, hey, this worked. Let me take it to the next level. So I went from 50 grams of carbs a day, approximately, being in ketosis, down to 30. Still wasn't working. Down to 10. What I noticed was I was actually losing muscle and gaining fat. By the way, another big complaint about ketosis. So I literally saw how bodybuilders vary their diet using high carb days, etc. And it works. And it puts them back into a fat burning machine, and it protects their muscles. So I thought, let me try this. And I actually was digging around the internet, and I even found articles about ketosis or low carb diets causing insulin resistance. And I thought, I don't know if that's possible, but I dug deeper and found that it can cause insulin resistance, not like the way a diabetic where the receptor to the insulin is blunted, but from the DNA actually blunting the insulin receptor on purpose for survival. So follow me. What the body does in these long time states of low carbohydrate diets, right? We're forcing your cells to use fat as its major energy. So what happens is it says, wait a minute, I better protect my fat because that's my main fuel source. So what does it do? It starts to blunt the insulin receptor. And what does that mean? That means insulin starts rising and you start storing fat. Exactly. That's not good, but the body is trying to survive. So to the body, it's good, but for us, we don't like that. So therefore, we can start to gain belly fat and actually lose a little muscle because the body will start pulling from some of that muscle just to gain some extra fuel, because oftentimes it doesn't want to dump the stored glycogen in our muscles and liver because it wants to survive. So it may need that. So anyways, you'll start to lose a little muscle and gain some belly fat on low carb diets for a long time. So if you've been in them long enough, you may notice that. Now again, this is all the body's attempt to survive. By the way, I found something else out when I started doing a little bit of searching. You know that dimply fat that some of us get in all the wrong places? Well, what can happen there too in this low carb state for a long time is that the body will actually, it's smart, it will put water in the fat cells to slow down lipolysis, meaning the burning of fat. So we get this dimply looking fat. That's not good either. So the bottom line is, I've learned if we throw in these feast days weekly, and you'll see even monthly, we can get the body, remind the body it's not starving, and we can refire up or rekindle the fat burning machine. So these strategies are really important. Okay, so let's talk about monthly variation here. This is really important because this is really I discovered it by looking at women who are a little hormonal. We'll keep it nice, but having a conversation with my wife and my son's girlfriend, they were talking about their cravings the week before their period, and maybe some of you get the cravings during your period. But my response was, well, listen to your body. Go for it. If you have the desire for more carbohydrates, eat them. And as I said that, I realized, wait a minute, that's actually brilliant. And I thought about it scientifically. You actually need insulin, higher insulin levels, which remember, when low carb, you're actually going low insulin. You're forcing the insulin down for a long period of time. So we actually need elevated insulin to make certain hormone conversions. So thyroid hormone is a great example. To go from T4 stored hormone to the active hormone that you need to be an efficient fat burner and your hair and skin to look nice, you have to convert that. Insulin is one of the hormones that actually are responsible for that conversion. Estrogen and other hormones as well. Insulin plays a critical role in. So when insulin gets low for a long time, classic for low carbohydrate diets for a long time, what happens is we start not making those hormone conversions well. Another reason why I believe women in low carb diets long term don't succeed very well, no doubt why thyroid people, hormonal individuals, no doubt wouldn't do very well with fasting or low carb diets. However, so with my doctor group, we decided to try it, and I started trying it with many of my clients. We started doing the week before the period, when the women get the cravings, we started doing high healthy carbs, pushing them for double, triple the amount of carbohydrates, 100, 150, even 250 grams of carbs a day for that week. The rest of the month, we would put them back into ketosis or low carb. Magic happened. It helped them make those hormone conversions. And here's the cool part. The rest of the month, they thrived hormonally. Magic. So, men, you're not off the hook. Whenever your wife is having the period and doing high carbs, you do it too, because it really does. It works for all of us, because insulin is needed in many different hormone conversions. And even one of the jobs of insulin is actually shutting off something called gluconeogenesis, where our body can take its own muscle protein and break it down into sugar that it needs. And when we pop insulin up every once in a while, we can stop that gluconeogenesis. It works. It really does work. All right, weekly, I do this. It's called, I have a few strategies. I'm going to flip the page, actually. Oh, I want to say this before I do that. Hormone optimization via adaptation. This whole principle, by the way, is based on adaptation. All the body wants to do is survive. It's it. So it will do everything it can to survive. That's why when you exercise, what it does, your body releases growth hormone, something called norepinephrine, and that gets blood into the muscles, increases your heart rate. And the cool thing is that norepinephrine, or noradrenaline as it's known, actually reduces inflammation. So does growth hormone. So there's an anti-aging and an anti-inflammation response from exercise. Let me give you another example. Cryotherapy. I've done some past Facebook Lives on cryotherapy, where you get in this tank and it's freezing, literally 150 degrees below zero. I'm sorry. Yeah, I mean, literally that cold, 150 degrees below zero, and your body thinks it's going to die. So what does it do? It raises up growth hormone, norepinephrine, to save its life. But post that life save, the body says, okay, we're cool, we're not going to die, but you get this massive anti-inflammation effect from it. And actually, norepinephrine is also known to lift the mood. Norepinephrine is diminished in ADHD, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, bipolar disorder, depression. So norepinephrine is associated, low norepinephrine is associated with all of those different brain conditions. So if we can get the body in this situation where it thinks it needs to save its life, it's going to raise up norepinephrine. That's called hormone optimization. Every time we change the diet, the body has to adapt. We're creating hormone optimization by forcing adaptation. It's pretty cool. It actually works. Okay, feast-famine cycles weekly. Now watch how this hormone optimization takes place. So I have something that I call my 5-1-1 rule. This means that 5 days a week, you already learned, and again, if you haven't watched past videos, please do. They are all, if you're in the fasting group, which most of you are, they are under, I think, announcements. Yes, they're under announcements, and you'll see all of the past videos. So look for those there, Fasting for a Purpose group under announcements, and you'll see all the videos. Okay, so on that, we talked about intermittent fasting. 5 days of the week, you eat in your window, 6 hour, 4 hour, whatever window you choose. 5 days a week, okay? Here's the feast and famine. 1 day a week, you're going to fast. Either no food at all, but most of you just start by eating one meal. So you're going to basically fast 23 to 24 hours 1 day a week. The other day a week, we're going to feast, right? So this day, you're going to increase calories. Maybe you eat 3 meals that day, or just eat a lot more. Or increase protein, that's an option, or increase carbs. What we're doing with the feast famine is we're creating the body, we're forcing the body to adapt, and we're driving hormone optimization. We're getting the growth hormone to go up. We're getting the norepinephrine to react. And actually, it even has an effect on the microbiome, which is good. That's your good gut bacteria. And so this cycling is creating that hormone optimization. Another thing that occurs is that your cells actually become more sensitive to your hormones. And if you watch my past videos, I talk about that's the key really to optimizing your hormones, is getting your cells to hear them. It's not taking more hormones. If we can get our cells more sensitive to them, that's where healthy people really are, because healthy people don't have high hormones necessarily. Their cells hear the hormones key. So this forces that. Okay, now let's take it to the next level. Okay, this is a really good place to start. But now we can take it to 4-2-1. That means we're going to throw in 2 fasting days a week. I typically always do 2 or 3. So they don't have to be back to back. I prefer them to be random, actually. So maybe Tuesday and Thursday are your fasting days where you just eat one meal, 23, 24-hour fast. Oh, and by the way, studies show autophagy massively occurs in that 24-hour period. So we're going to get more autophagy and therefore stem cells. Now you can see how this is preparing you for next week, right? Sunday, not even next week. It's coming up very rapidly because now we're doing some of these fasting days. So I encourage all of you, even though we don't have a lot of time, try to do 1 or 2 of these fast days where you at least eat one meal, and then maybe you choose not to eat at all for one day, and then eat the next morning and have a feast day, right? So that could be your feast day the next day where you eat 3 meals. All right, now I'm going to keep taking it up a notch. 3-3-1. I call this mitochondrial fitness, or at least metabolic mitochondrial fitness, which means we're really going to stress our mitochondria to adapt by doing this. So now 3 days a week, we're actually throwing in either one meal, and I like to do at least 2 of those, one meal and one where you don't eat until the next day. And by the way, Jason Fung, who I interviewed last night, he uses this for his diabetics. Not right off the bat, I'm sure he progresses them there, but this is a strategy to really get the mitochondria more efficient at burning fat. This will fire up the fat burning machine, right? So we're adapting as we go. We're forcing adaptation. We're getting the mitochondria, we're forcing it to be more efficient at using fat. That's what these 3 days come in. And we still do one feast day. Why? To remind the body it's not starving. Remember, if the body thinks that it's starving, it's going to start blunting those insulin receptors, making you store fat. It's going to not stop gluconeogenesis if insulin gets too low too long. So we want to throw in those feast days. And here's another one that I love, the 3, 2, if I can do my math correctly. So what we have is 2 regular days of intermittent fasting, eating in your 6-hour window, 3 fasting days, and throw in 2 feast days. Some of you may need the 2 feast days. Okay, now, you'll notice on the feast days, I talked about high calories, high carbs, or high protein or high carbs. Some of you may say, I don't do well with too high carbs. Okay, you can actually accomplish this by just increasing the calories. I want you to understand something, and this is a really important point. I need my hand, so I'm putting that down. And if you do this with me, you'll actually learn it. This is actually my left hand. It probably looks like my right hand here. We won't confuse you. But in this hand, we have autophagy, right? You know that pathway because we talk about it in fasting. Really important pathway because your body gets rid of all the bad stuff. So you can look at it as catabolic in the sense that it's eating the bad stuff, but it becomes anabolic in that it raises up the stem cells to replace it. Okay, just remember the autophagy pathway. That's this hand. On this side, we have something called the mTOR pathway. Many people hate mTOR because they say it's it's aging. It ages you prematurely. It leads to different diseases. And they typically talk about mTOR as being elevated protein. Eating too much protein will stimulate mTOR. Now, there's groups on this side, there's groups on this side that hate this group over here. Maybe you're vegans, vegetarians, and just plant-based people. Protein's bad. mTOR, evil. But I look at this and go, well, I see some really good here. And I look at this side and say, I see really good autophagy. I see the good there. But what if we need them both? And that's my argument. When I was in Africa, I saw tribes when they had protein, when they had the kill, I'm telling you, they went high protein, man. I couldn't even count the amount of protein they were eating. And this was a tribe who was incredibly fit, fat adapted. I mean, 0 diseases that we could find. At least the people that brought me there said these people just aren't sick. Dr. Pompa, why is that? Was the question that was asked to me. But I watched them go high protein. But no doubt about it, I believe we need both of these states. Feast, famine, right? Autophagy is the famine. The feast is this mTOR pathway that's getting right now a lot of criticism. But when we drive up calories, that is actually going to drive up that mTOR pathway. So that's why increased calories for too long, eating all day, as I point out, yeah, that'll lead to early aging. That's not good. That'll drive that mTOR pathway chronically, and that is not good. So I agree with those people. Increased protein too long, no doubt you're going to age and drive age-related diseases. I'm against that. Increased carbs, we know where that can get you. But all 3 of those things will drive that mTOR. But I believe that's a really good place to be short term. Look at this. Think about bodybuilders. Let's take it to the extreme. When they take steroids, when they first start on the steroids, obviously it's driving this mTOR pathway, major anabolic pathway, they actually heal. Their joints get better, they feel better. Now, staying on the steroids obviously leads to problems. So we can drive this pathway and actually get some incredible things to heal. So I believe the pathway is there for a reason. Autophagy, I would argue that too much fasting, too much low carbs, as we even pointed out. The people that went in the biosphere to prove low calories actually makes you live longer. They came out anorexic looking. So certain parameters for long life got better, but certain parameters actually got worse. So that's how we're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about this next week a little bit. Actually, probably even I'm going to do an extra video, a partial fast. Dr. Walter Longo talks about eating low calories, 500, 800 calories, just 5 days a month, and why that's good. See, because that's not long-term caloric restriction. That's too much autophagy, right? So both sides. We want both sides. That's what this feast famine actually does. It's giving us the best of both sides. That has been proven to me clinically to be the key for shutting down a lot of these autoimmune reactions that we're seeing, driving the healing, taking advantage of growth hormone, norepinephrine, these natural anti-inflammatory hormones, getting the cells more sensitive to hormones. Feast, famine. Our ancestors were forced to do it. We have not been forced to do it. 511, 421, 331. I know we don't have a lot of time before the fast, but try to get in. at least one, maybe two of these fast days. One meal a day, and maybe you throw one feast day in. Let's remind our bodies that it's not starving. Hormone optimization is really the key to what feast-famine cycles do, because it forces adaptation. Every time you change your diet, we're making the body adapt. The microbiome, the hormone adaptation that occurs with it, it's key. Seasonally, no doubt, I move in and out of ketosis. I don't stay in ketosis. No ancient culture stayed in ketosis, not even the Eskimos. Every time that they had advantage of taking the advantage of carbohydrates, you bet they ate them. I would too, right? So all of these tribes, when they have carbohydrates, the African tribe, when they had berries and certain things happening, man, I'm sure they overate, but the bottom line is, seasonally, we know that we're able to force adaptation every time we seasonally change our diet. So moving in and out. Sometimes I'll be in ketosis even just for a month because I'm super quick to adapt. I'm very metabolically flexible. And then I'll move out of ketosis for a period of time. I went to Italy. You know darn well I was out of ketosis for the period of time. But that adaptation could be seasonally. It could be just because of my schedule. Oftentimes it's weeks and months that I change my diet. The change is the magic. Monthly, I taught you, even if you're doing high carbohydrates, you could do high protein for 1 week, a month, like an African tribe, and stimulate that mTOR pathway. And there is no doubt you're going to go, oh my gosh, my knees feel better. You stay in that pathway, you're going to end up in trouble. You'll drive inflammation, right? Just like staying too low calorie for too long. When you think about this, and I really should have made that point, autophagy, what drives autophagy? Low calorie, low protein, and low carb. They're opposite. Just remember that. Autophagy, opposite. Low calorie, low protein, low carb. Over here, we have high protein, high carb, high calorie. So we want to experience both of those in the feast famine. All right. So the monthly we talked about, and then the weekly I just showed you. That is, I'm telling you, the key. Listen, when we break the fast, when we come out of the fast, we're going to talk about how to do that. But we want to move in to this diet variation strategy. Many of you may choose to go 2 more months in ketosis, maybe 3, and then seasonally move out. But even if you choose to stay in ketosis after the fast, at least try the monthly and the weekly feast-famine cycling, the diet variation, and watch what happens. I'm telling you, you'll break through. Those of you who are stuck, like I said, you're not losing weight. This is the key. Figure out what variation works for you, monthly, weekly, seasonally. But it will create that adaptation and break you through that weight loss resistance. And those of you who are losing muscle, this is the key. Those of you thyroid, adrenal, hormone challenges, this is the key. So we are able, as a group of doctors, to take those conditions that typically can't fast or do these types of things, and with these strategies, these diet variation strategies, we're able to get them to break through with fasting, because we know we need fasting. We need autophagy. We have to get rid of these bad cells. So just because you have thyroid condition, adrenal condition, we need the autophagy and the stem cells to fix those conditions, right? Our body will fix those conditions, as long as we're able to utilize the autophagy. But if you just put those people in a low-carb diet or fasting states, they don't do well. That's why you need this. So share this video. Listen, the fast is starting. We're going to go over 10,000. I know it. Share all the videos. If you haven't watched the past videos, make sure you do. And it's under announcements. Fasting for a Purpose group. Join it if you haven't. And we're going to be doing. I'm going to be doing probably a video or two before. At least one video before Sunday. I will be doing a video Sunday. That's the day the fast starts. So yes, I will be doing a video. I'll either be doing a video tomorrow or Saturday, look for one, where I will be talking about the other choice, and that's the fasting mimicking diet, aka it's a partial fast, where we just do low calories. So those of you who may be afraid to fast, or maybe it's like, okay, well, I haven't had time to do this diet variation, and I am a thyroid person and an adrenal person, and I am one of those people, and I haven't done well with fasting in the past. Okay, make sure you pay attention either tomorrow or Saturday. I'm going to do a video on the fasting mimicking diet, some of Walter Longo's work, and also I'm hoping to bring on one of his colleagues, not this first video, but during the fast, to talk more about that. So stay tuned for that. This is a strategy, by the way, the fasting mimicking diet, partial fast, that we utilize. All of our doctors utilize this, even when people are able to fast. We like to throw in these types of fasts just to break it up. So, very important. This will serve you well. Share the video, and I'll see you in the next video.